Hey, it's Mr. Green, aka Beethoven Boy. I'm wrapping up my first week of online teaching here at Ajo Unified in Arizona. And I've started teaching my middle schoolers and my high schoolers music theory. And there's been a few things that's been going on in my brain, and I've seen some weird stuff on Instagram, which was just kind of coincidental about music theory. So I thought I'd talk about this. I'll try to make this as quick as possible, get you guys in and out of here. The first thing is that music theory comes after the practice. Okay. Usually, when we talk about music theory, we're talking about this really specific thing called like functional harmony. And it comes from this guy who wrote music like 400 years ago in Germany. He's actually right there behind me, Bach. Okay. The reason why I bring up that like it's 400 years ago is because there wasn't like none of this wasn't really codified. There wasn't like a textbook that had all these rules about how harmony and chords and scales should work. Okay. So my point is that the theory is a way to explain what already happened. It's like Isaac Newton when he was sitting around and the apple hits him on the head. He's like, oh, there's this thing called gravity. And then he had to develop these tools and this theory to explain what is gravity, why does it work? Okay. That doesn't mean gravity didn't exist and then he had this formula and rule and then bam, all of a sudden we have gravity. Gravity always has been around since we could imagine, right? So the theory comes after the practice. All right. Bach just had a really cool set of rules that he followed and that he liked. I'm sure at his time people kind of had a common way of writing things and whatnot, but he really solidified kind of those techniques. I could be wrong here. Just leave a comment in there. But his personal style is just so like I don't know, we just like it and it works very well and we still use it in a lot of music today. We just can't deny his influence. Some people say it kind of we're stuck. Okay, and they might be right in some ways. That's a whole nother video. But it's great stuff. And even if you don't write anything like him, it's good to to study because it'll make you a better improviser, composer, producer, whatever it is you do with music. All right, he has really good stuff. Okay, my second point with music theory is will it ruin my creativity? Okay. Um, I think it's my personal opinion that music is among a lot of other things. There's a mental part of music and there is a heart part of music. Okay. And I like the marriage of both. Okay. You got to have your chops. You got to know what you're doing. Okay. But you also have to have humanity. You need to have feelings and emotion and compassion and anger and despair and anguish and jubilee and joy. Like that has to get expressed, but you need the tools to express them efficiently and effectively to other people. So to me, that's why I love music because it's such a marriage of mind and soul. Okay. Now, if I think about music in this like spectrum, okay, oh, I got to get used to my hands on this camera here. There is some music that's extremely mental. Okay. I'm not really into that kind of stuff. Not knocking it. It's just not my thing. It's too mental. Okay. Then there's music that's just all like it's all heart. And I kind of think of like maybe punk rockers, people that just don't want to have any influence over their creativity, that kind of stuff kind of turns me off too because it's like well it's too there's not you got to have some of this here and that's just me personally. Okay, then you have all these little shades and ticks and gradations in between and there's people all over this spectrum of mental and soul parts of music and that's what I think is so beautiful. Some stuff is little mental and little mostly passion. That's the school bell. Some stuff, is way up here, not all the way up. Whatever. But my point is that I don't think it'll ruin your creativity if you're just still a creative person. All right. I like to call it reverse engineering. All right. You could learn all these little rules and then just apply the rules and spit out some music, and it sounds like it's just very like computer. It's just it lacks soul. Okay, your music still needs it needs this. All right, and you can't get that from just learning rules and chord progressions and stuff like that. Okay, you have to make the music your own. All right, got to. My next point, and I think this is my last one with theory, is if you're a musician or a composer, you and you're studying theory or thinking about studying it, you have to remember that you have to play these things. You have to play them. Okay. And here's the reason why. The theory is just on paper. Okay. You can teach this, it's just formulas basically. You can teach this stuff to people that aren't even musicians, and you can give them a worksheet and they can do perfect on it, right? But if you ask them to actually make a piece of music, they might struggle. Okay. You have to you have to have this I don't know, this academic part of it, and then you have to have this what I call immediate. Like you have to know it in here. I guess back to the mind heart thing. There's a mental part of music and there's a heart part of music. Okay. When I was 14 or 15, I was in this weird situation where I just moved to LA, and I was involved with this really cool radical like biker church, and somehow I got involved with the worship band on state worship band, and they did top 40, they did rock and roll, they did Motown, just anything you could think of like from 1950s on that was popular, even rap, hip hop, some dudes even did metal, whatever. But I'm there, I'm 14, 15 years old. I'm playing with these like awesome musicians, and we're doing all these songs. And I've never had a lesson. Like, so I got to figure all this stuff out on my own, and just learned all these awesome top 40 songs basically. And by the time I got to college, when I was about 22 or 23, then I started learning the formal, the educational, the academic part of music. Like, well, this is a 1-2-5 secondary dominant of 6-6 deceptive cadence kind of stuff. I started learning the terms and like the academic part of music, the mental part, which is really cool. And by the time I started learning it, I was like, oh, like it just came so fast because I already played all these songs that already did all this stuff. I know what a 1-4-5 sounds like in the key of D. I know what a 2-5 secondary dominant of 6 going to 6 sounds like before I even play it. I know how it feels. I know what a 1 to flat 7 groove sounds like. I played it when we did the band War. I know, like there's an immediate knowledge of the theory to me. It wasn't just like, I don't get this because I got to crunch these numbers and figure this out. Like I already knew because I played it. Okay, so as you learn in theory, you gotta just play a lot of songs, a lot of different styles, and the theory just like it becomes less academic, and you get it very immediately. Like, oh, dude, I know how this sounds like. I know how this sounds like. I know how it feels like. That's the important part, especially when you're jamming live or improvising. Like, nobody has time to like map stuff out in their head. You're doing it and you're feeling it, right? So you gotta have the stuff up here and you gotta have the stuff down here. Those are my thoughts on music theory. I know it's a little rabbit trail because my rock stars kicked in, but I would love to hear what you guys have to say about music theory. Does it ruin your creativity? Should you learn it? Is it even necessary for you? Some people don't need it. They're not really doing really wild stuff with music theory. Whatever your thoughts are, I'd like to hear it. Put them in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button wherever it is. All right. And I'll see you guys hopefully soon.